might take. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. How's everyone doing? Alhamdulillah. Amar, Mona, mashallah. Good to see everyone. Looks like Amar, you're calling in from Seattle, huh? Canada. Okay. The picture looks like Seattle. Maybe it's a different Canadian version of Seattle. Toronto. Okay, that makes sense. Mashallah. Mashallah. Gotta rep Toronto. Um, Alhamdulillah, Egypt is wonderful. Egypt is wonderful. Getting settled in here, um, filled with ulama. I haven't even really taken full account of that yet, but I'm very excited because my Quran Sheikh will be coming from Libya to Egypt. Just got the news today that he's coming to visit Egypt. So Alhamdulillah, ulama always passing through, always passing through. So it's a blessed place to be. And many people who are here to study, you know. So you find many like-minded people, interesting lectures and halaqat going on. Last week there was a lecture we went to, my wife and I, on, this past couple days ago, on Thursday, there was a lecture at the Netherlands Institute. First of all, I didn't even know Netherlands had an institute in Cairo, but apparently there's like a Netherlands Institute of Cairo. We show up there and there's fascinating lecture by Professor Yasin Muhammad on a book by Imam al-Raghib al-Isfahani. So he spends his time studying akhlaq He's a professor of Islamic studies in South Africa. So he just released a translation of a book by Imam Raghib al-Isfahani. Those of you who are in the Telegram channel might have seen my post on that. But just fascinating halaqat and lectures. And there's another talk, like every day there's like 10 different things going on. So amazing place to be. Highly recommend if you have, even a month or 2 months, 3 months, come out here, inshallah. And we'll be happy to help you out while we're here at least. Ahlan, ahlan. All right, inshallah. So how is the timing for everyone? I know Sister Jessica requested a better timing, or perhaps a different timing. And mashallah, she's very muhtam with the class, very on top of the class, so we want to respect her request. Anyone else or Sister Jessica want to share? Earlier works better. We can do 30 minutes earlier, perhaps. And I think some other folks also, if anyone wants to share now, earlier works better as well. Okay. Let us know, inshallah, by the end of the dars. I'll propose maybe 30 minutes early. Because the problem is before that, it's not a big issue to even do. Yeah, it's not a big issue. But we can do 30 minutes earlier. All right. How does that sound? Is that any better at all, Sister Jessica? Ikram, Yasmin. Let me know if that's better. If it's better, then we can move it. All right, it's better. All right, inshallah. Will there be classes in Ramadan? At least, I would think at least the first couple of weeks, inshallah. But we'll see. We'll get to that time when we get there. Still a month or so out, at least. All right. Go ahead and get started. A month and a half out. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك عليه وعلى آله صلاة تخرجنا بها من ظلمات الوهم وتكرمنا بها بنور الفهم وتوضع بها عما أشكل حتى يفهم أنك تعلم ولا نعلم وأنت علام الغيوب ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. So, before we even dive into the text today, we had a request also from Sister Jessica as well. But I think it's probably something that was on the minds of a few people. So that request was to go through the awrah for outside of Salah. Okay? The awrah outside of Salah. So that's what we'll start off with. And let me share my screen. Bismillah. Okay. I think we can do one of these. All right. So awrah outside of Salah, as we said, there's awrah inside of Salah and awrah outside of Salah. Awrah is translated to nakedness, but yes, we can go ahead with that translation for now. So, awra. All right. We can say for men, or we can start like this, actually, rather than saying for men, for women. Everyone see the screen, yeah? Specifically PowerPoint?
Yes.
All right, okay, so let us do it like this. Actually, yeah, we can do it for men, for women. It doesn't really matter, but we can do, actually, we'll do it like this. In front of mahram, in front of non-mahram, in front of the same gender, okay? And when we say mahram, we mean the mahram according to the sharia, not the mahram according to the urf, not the mahram where somebody says, well, hey, she's like my sister, we're just friends, we grew up together, family friends, she's like my sister. No, that's not a mahram. It's not cousins, as is commonly in many, unfortunately, many Muslim urfs. By that, I mean Muslim peoples, right? Whether in the subcontinent, whether in the Arab world, people think cousin is a mahram. No, cousin is not a mahram. And then, they think, especially in the subcontinent, they think cousin is a mahram. And then, 5 years later, they're married to the cousin, right? So there's a cousin is not a mahram, okay? But here we mean by mahram, father, father, mother, sister, even half sister, brother, half brother, nephew, niece, grandma, grandfather, their siblings, uncle, aunt. Those are all mahram, okay? And by this uncle, aunt, we mean direct uncle, aunt, because in English, we often don't differentiate between the husband of the aunt or the wife of the uncle. You understand what I mean by that? The direct relationship, not the married relationship, okay? It also refers to the father, the mother of your wife, or the father of your, the mother or father of your spouse. And also milk brothers and sisters, but that's not very common in Western society. So, and let's see, any questions so far? That's mahram. Okay. By the way, I will make Sister Ikram, I can make you the co-host if you don't mind, and just let people in as if anyone comes in late. Okay, so we said mahram. Okay, so in front of mahram, everyone got what a mahram is? In front of mahram, let's put this out. Yeah, there you go. So there's for men and for women. Okay, and for men, in front of a mahram, meaning a mahram woman, right? His sister, his mother, his grandmother. Once again, not his cousin. Once again, not his childhood friend who he thinks of as his sister, quote unquote. Not any of those. But for the actual mahram, what is the awra? It's the same as in front of other men, as we'll get to, which is navel to navel. Okay? For women, in front of mahram men, meaning her father, meaning her brother, meaning her son, meaning her uncle. What is it? And these are the areas that must be covered. Everything, or you can say from the nape, right here. The nape is the back, right? What is this called? The word in English. Somebody can correct me. Right here, the bottom of the neck, right?
Neckline?
Neckline. You could say neckline. I feel like there's another word. But okay, we can say neckline.
Is it
Go
in the
ahead.
front or in the back of your neck?
In the
That
front, it doesn't matter, but around the neck, yeah.
maybe your clavicle?
Clavicle, maybe clavicle. Okay, we'll go with neckline for now because I guess that captures the whole neck, right? From the neckline to the ankle, not including forearms. What does that mean? That means she can show her hair, she can show her neck, she can show her forearms, yes, but not her chest, not her even her calves. On the stronger opinion, not her calves. Though there's an opinion that says calves. So this is the in front of who? Your mahram, your father, your brother, your son, your uncle, and similar relations. Okay. Now, that's all in front of the mahram. In front of the non-mahram, there are different rules. Okay. So for men, in front of the non-mahram, that is the non-mahram woman. The awrah is technically the same. However, non-mahram women cannot see the chest of a man. Non-mahram women cannot see the chest of a man. For them, it is haram to see the chest of a man. So for a man, he should cover in front of a non-mahram woman at least his chest. That means this, idea of working out with your chest showing, working out, with your shirt off, playing basketball. There's this common thing of people play basketball, street ball. You play skins versus shirts, and they take off the shirt. No, that's not permissible because any woman could be walking by, let alone oftentimes there's women watching the game, but any woman could be walking by and see your chest. Unless, of course, it's a closed space, some kind of brother's time. But we'll talk about that in the same gender. So, I'll say this, right? How should I phrase it for men? Chest to knees, okay? And anytime we're using the to in the Maliki madhab, it is not inclusive. It is exclusive. So you can show your knees, right? But in this case, the chest, you must cover the chest, okay? All right, for women, in front of non-mahram men, everything except the face and hands. And because we're Maliki and many of us in the West in America, you must have seen the controversy, unnecessary controversy on the niqab, okay? Is the niqab necessary or not, okay? And the reality is there's ikhtilaf. It's well known, there's ikhtilaf in the madhab. It says in محارم اللسان وهل عليها الستر حين تختني فتونه أو قصده للذة ثالثها حتم على الجمال وهو على غيرهن ذو جمال. And so محارم اللسان, he mentions three strong opinions. And the opinion, I'm just going to mention the opinion that most of my mashayikh say is that it is makruh. It is makruh for a woman to wear the niqab unless she fears fitna, okay? Unless she fears fitna. Or it is the urf. For example, when you went to ahsa, it is the urf in ahsa. Right? So how would she fear fitna? Well, either she's extremely beautiful and she's known to be beautiful, and there's a funny story about a sheikh who once conveyed that position. He said, only if you're beautiful you should wear the niqab. Apparently the next day every woman came to the masjid niqab. But in any case, women know, men know, if a woman is extremely beautiful, she should wear the niqab. Number two, if she's living in an area of fitna, okay? She's living in an area of fitna where people do not lower their gaze. And that's oftentimes in non-Muslim lands, that can be, it doesn't have to be the case, but oftentimes it can be the case, right? Depends on the neighborhood, the city, the kind of culture in the area. You have a lot of cat callers, you have a lot of these kind of people. Then these are people who, are causing fitna. In this case, it'd be better to wear the niqab. Okay? Collarbone. Excellent. Yeah, I believe that's the term, collarbone. Are wives and uncles included for a man's mahram? No, wives and uncles are not. That's the distinction I'm trying to make. What about a stepfather, mother, or step siblings? It is, yes. It is. They are. Stepfather is mahram, yeah. Step siblings, not automatically. Step siblings, not automatically. They have to be nursed siblings. That makes sense. And by stepfather, if you mean by stepfather, not foster father, not an adopted father, but the husband of your mom or the wife of your father. Okay. Kabir says, to recap, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, parents, in-laws all fall under mahram. Are there any other categories? Yeah, we mentioned some of them here. I'm gonna brought some up, inshallah. And there's a few others, like the nurse siblings, right? So again, that's not common in the West, but it could be very beneficial to bring about as a practice in the West, at least in a limited setting. And the example is exactly as Jessica is saying. When you adopt, for example, children, if you were to adopt children, if you are to take care of children, foster children, then it will be very beneficial to make them a nurse, to nurse them, the mother to nurse them. Yes, for the mother to nurse them, such that the siblings of that child, so that her own children are mahram to that child, right? And thereby prevent fitna, make life easier for the entire family. Any case, now we're going too deep into some of these mas'alas for the level we're at. Okay, let's go now to same gender. Everyone following so far? Same gender for men, navel to knees. Though thigh permissible for close friends. For women, it's also navel to knees, but not for disbelieving women, right? So on the stronger opinion, for disbelieving women, it's not permissible for a woman. Actually, let's do this, right? Make it easier. For women in front of disbelieving women, in front of believing. Navel to knees. Okay, so in front of disbelieving women, the stronger opinion is that like in front of men. Why? Because anyone, I feel like anyone should know this, but women should know this, and even men who have women around them should know this, that women share how other women look. They talk a lot about how other women look, more so than men. Now, a believing woman, you can trust her that she's not going to talk about how you look in front of a non-mahram man, but you can't trust the same of a disbelieving woman. That's why the stronger opinion is you can't show your hair, you can't show your awrah to a disbelieving woman. Okay? There is the weaker opinion, and that could be beneficial. For example, if you have disbelieving women in your family, right? If you have disbelieving women in your family, it can be beneficial to have that opinion, because it could be hard, to always wear hijab in front of, for example, you go to a family holiday, there's other, disbelieving women, and you're wearing your hijab the whole time. It can be hard. So you can take that opinion. The other opinion is that it's the same. All women are the same from navel to knees. Okay? Would it also apply to believing women who could share? That's a good question, and probably yes. Yeah, because it's mu'allal. And oftentimes you'll see with the awrah, the subject within this subject of bab awrah, you could say the mawdu' of awrah, the ahkam are reasoned. The ahkam are reasoned to an extent. So that's why, for example, if somebody's looking at a woman's face, a man is looking at a woman's face, and he finds pleasure, he must lower his gaze. It's haram for him to look at her face. Okay? Even though technically her face is not awrah. So, a lot of this is mu'allal. And so we could probably say the same there. What's the okay? So men can have their thighs exposed with close male friends, but not with mahram. I have to check on that. Let's see here. Maybe I'll mention the suqi. Let me check. It doesn't mention in the suqi. يعني أنه يجوز للمرأة وترى من الأجنبي ما يراه من محرمه، وترى المرأة حرة من الرجل الأجنبي ما يراه من محرمه إلا أن تخشى اللذة، وترى من المحرم كرجل مع مثله، أي ما عدا بين السرة والركبة. So it's a good thing you asked that question, because there's a correction to make. Okay. So first of all, to answer your question, Badr, no, he cannot show his thighs to even a mahram woman. Okay. Because it says here, he karajulin ma'a mithlihi. But basically, or actually what it indicates is on the opinion that you can show your thighs to the close people, that you can show your thighs to the close women as well. That's what it seems to indicate, the wording of Khalil, but let me look into that further. There is one correction to make, which is for men, for women, what they can see, ترى من الأجنبي ما يراه من محرمه, that she can see ما يراه من محرمه, she can see the face, neckline, basically to ankle. Okay. أما لم فلا يجوز بيع ولا طلاق, فلا يجوز لها وضع يدها في يده ولا يضع, وكذلك لا يجوز ولا على هذا بخلاف المحرم, فإنه كما يجوز منها بغير إن قل وترى من الأجنبي إلى آخره, مقيد لقوله فيما تقدم, وهي من رجل ما بين غير الملأ بأن كان مع رجل أو مع محرمه ما بين. وقد أشار الشارح لذلك, وذكر بعضهم أنه غير مقيد له لاختلاف موضعهما, فما سبق في العورة, وهذا في النظر, فما زاد على العورة وهي ما بين السرة والركبة لا يجب على الرجال ستره, وإن أحرم على المرأة أجنبية النظر إليه. Okay, so in any case, we'll say it like this, right? For men, neckline to ankle, not including forearms, in front of non-mahram women. All right, as you can see, took quite some time, basically took most of this class to do this, but hopefully it was useful, inshallah. Any questions on this before we move on to from Awra? Okay, go ahead, Sister Mahabba.
Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to circle back to the
Alaikum assalam
niqab for a moment. You had
Okay.
mentioned that the situations where a woman might wear niqab is either if it was the custom in an area, if she was extremely beautiful, or if it was an area where there was fitna and the man might not lower the gaze. Are those the three exceptions for niqab? You had mentioned
Yes.
three. Okay, great. Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes, that's a good summary. Barakallahu fikum. Yeah, those are the three exceptions. Okay, so wa alaikum salam, brother. Yes, that is actually correct, but I don't want to complicate this that is further. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. All right. Now going on to the next shart. Okay, now we can actually go back to Ibn Ashir. Let me see, where is the text Ibn Ashir? Give me a second. I think he says شرط وجوبها النقاء من الدم. Yes. So it says on line number 110, قال المصنف رحمه الله شرط وجوبها النقاء من الدم في قصة أو الجفوف فاعلمي. That a condition of its being obligatory is her being free of menstrual blood or of the whitish fluid or becoming dry. So as we said, Ibn Ashir is mentioning the conditions of prayer. And the conditions are of three kinds. Can anyone tell me what the three kinds of conditions are? Go ahead, you can speak out loud. Anyone? Validity, obligation, and both validity and obligation. Excellent. Like khair, kabir. And we talked about the conditions of validity so far. The conditions of validity, which is defined as what? Yes, what is necessary for the salah to be valid. Okay. Okay. Now he's mentioning the conditions of validity and obligation. The conditions of validity and obligation. That is what is necessary for the salah to be valid and for the salah to be obligatory in the first place. The first of those conditions is being free from bleeding. And the reason he mentions min ad-dam, even though the translation says menstrual blood, it doesn't mention menstrual blood in the Arabic. And the reason is because Imam Ibn Ashir is always being precise, because it includes both postpartum bleeding and menstrual bleeding. It includes both postpartum bleeding and menstrual bleeding. So both of these bleedings prohibit the prayer. The salah is not valid, and the salah is not obligatory in the first place. The salah is not obligatory in the first place. So in any case, now the details of this, because in actuality, something like this should be its own chapter. We're not going to cover them in this class. Okay, we're not going to cover them I'm not going to speak about them in the class because Imam Ibn Ashir does not mention it here. Rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to direct you to two things. One is Sheikh Rami's recording on this section from Akhtari. And if anyone, especially Sister Jessica, since you're very helpful with the resources, if someone can share that and share, find that exact timestamp where he begins explaining it. I believe it's in part 2. Some people have uploaded it as 2 parts, so I believe it's in part 2, or maybe the end of part 1. I'm not sure, but if somebody can find that and link it in the chat, Sheikh Rami's lesson on Akhdari, in his lessons on Akhdari, he has a section on hayd or menstruation, right? And the ahkam related to it. Exactly, yes. So if somebody can link that with the timestamp in the chat, that's the number 1 resource. The number 2 resource is, or rather, I'm not ranking them, but the second resource is my own article that I wrote, along with the help of my wife and many others. And that you'll find on Maliki Fiqh Q&A site, okay? It's article on menstruation. You'll find it at the Maliki Fiqh Q&A site. So if somebody could link both those and put them in the WhatsApp, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. Next class, okay? So bring your questions with you around that for next class. And additionally, this is not just, I'm saying this in general, not just for the women, but also for the men. Because it's obligatory on men to learn this knowledge, to be able to transmit it to their wives and their mothers and their sisters and their daughters, right? To be able to transmit it. Barakallahu fikum, brother. Barakallahu fikum. Is this the Sheikh Rami's recording? Excellent. Okay. Yes, please put it in the WhatsApp so it's not lost, forever. Excellent. Ahsan Allah ilayk. Okay. So All right, what was I saying? It is obligatory on men to know this as well, to transmit. And this is part of how the tradition was maintained, is by men transmitting the knowledge to the women in their family, and then women transmitting the knowledge to the men who would become scholars, public scholars, you could say. And that's why part of the reason that there are so, rather I would say in this time, there are fewer women scholars, part of the reason is because the men in the family are also ignorant. Because most of the women scholars that existed, they learned from the men within their family. They would learn from their father, they would learn from their uncle, they would learn from their brother, they would learn from their grandfather. They had no need to go to a madrasa, go to an institute, or even take an online class like this. And so, even if it's knowledge that is specific to women, or knowledge that is specific to men, it would be knowledge that was maintained and learnt. Okay? And we've given examples of that even among the Sahaba in the past. Much of the knowledge we have, even how men should operate, is from Sayyidah Aisha, from other Sahaba, Sahabiyat, okay? And vice versa. So that's on menstrual bleeding and postpartum bleeding, nifas. Any questions there? Alrighty. Next section. فَلَا قَضَاءَ أَيَّامَهُ ثُمَّ الدُّخُولِ. So somebody who's on menstrual bleeding or postpartum bleeding does not have to make up her prayers. And then he mentions the next condition, ثُمَّ دُخُولِ وقت فأدها به حتما أقول. فأدها به حتما أقول. Okay? Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn on my video. Do I want to stop screen share? No, because I'm actually going to do something. Let's see here. Bismillah. So now we're going to talk about the prayer times. Okay? We're going to talk about the prayer times. And there we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this screen. Everyone see this? Okay, Bismillah. Well, let me expand it, maybe if I do this. Okay. Everyone's still seeing, yeah? Okay. So, the prayer times in the Maliki madhab, there's actually two kinds of prayer times. What is known as the ikhtiyari time and the daruri time. And if you pray in either time, you have prayed within time. It counts as praying within time. Okay? If you pray in either time, it counts as praying within time. And for this reason, you can say that the Maliki madhab, in this aspect, is a little more flexible, a little more expansive. All right? Let's see what happens if we do this. There we go. Okay, now it's bigger. So, what are these prayer times? Starting from Dhuhr, because Dhuhr is said to have been the first fard prayer that the Prophet ﷺ prayed. And we'll start from Dhuhr and then we'll go backwards, okay? So imagine this is the horizon. Now I'm going to have some fun doing some art and you guys can watch me, okay? This is the sun. Everything in the prayer times generally centers around the sun, okay? Generally centers around the sun. And And that is from the hikmahs of Allah for us to continue to look at the creation of Allah, to look at the signs of Allah, and to remember that Allah is in control of everything. When we look at the sun, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي, we remember the ayah, وَالشَّمْسُ تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. That when you look at the sun, you remember the ayah, that the sun runs along its course. Because if you look at the sun the whole day, you're looking at run along its course. ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. And that is the divine decree of the one who knows. Al-Aziz, the mighty, and the one who knows. So just like the sun is running along its course, each one of us are running along the course of our lives, and all according to the decree of Allah. And this ummah is running along the course of Allah's decree. And the entire world is running along the course of Allah's decree. And because of that, a Muslim should never despair, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter how many, politicians are plotting against the world, against Muslims, no matter how many Elon Musks are plotting against Muslims, no matter how many Andrew Tates are plotting against Muslims and, leaving Islam, if he ever entered properly, that Muslims have nothing to fear. Why? Because everything is like the sun. تَجْرِي لِمُسْتَقَرٍّ لَهَا ذَلِكَ تَقْدِيرُ الْعَزِيزِ الْعَلِيمِ. So this is why we should actually, when we're looking at the prayer times, we don't just look at, open up our app and look at, guidance, look at, pillars, look at Muslim Pro. So you definitely shouldn't be looking at Muslim Pro because they're stealing all your data. Look at whatever. That's not what looking at the prayer time. The prayer time is not about an app. It's not about a website. It's about looking at the creation of Allah. So everyone should know this asl. Even if you use an app or website, that's fine. You should know how to derive the prayer times properly so that you can continue to look at the signs of Allah whenever you have a chance. And so you know that the app is actually right. Right? Because oftentimes you're wrong. So the Dhuhr prayer, when does it come in? When does the Dhuhr prayer come in? It comes when shadows start to move westward. When shadows start to move westward. Eastward. Right? Because the sun, it rises from the east and sets in the west. At least until Yawm al-Qiyamah, right? It rises from the east and sets in the west. And when it's rising from the east, which way does the shadow go? Exactly. I was beginning to fear that no one had seen the sun. Okay. It rises from the east, it goes to the west. Okay? Let's pretend this is east. I'm going to draw this structure here. You can see that. Rather, let me do it in a different color. It's clear. I'll do it in blue. Okay? So, what it's saying is that when this structure has a shadow, okay? When the sun moves, at some point the shadow goes, and actually what we'll do here is this. At some point, the shadow becomes smaller and smaller. As the sun moves, the shadow becomes smaller and smaller. So first it becomes smaller, and then it becomes a little smaller and a little smaller, right? Just imagine that part. Until finally it stops. It doesn't shrink anymore. Okay, and go out and see this if you haven't seen it. It doesn't shrink anymore. Then, as the sun, why does it stop? Well, because the sun has reached its highest point. And whoever does not live, directly in the tropical areas, you're still going to see some shadow. Why? Because of the tilt of the earth. And the fuqaha knew about this. That's why they were talking about that you'll still see some shadow. Okay. Now, then as the sun begins to move to the other side, you see that the shadow also begins to move to the other side. Okay? And that's as the sun begins to move to here. As soon as that shadow moves, that's the time of Dhuhr has entered. Now, the shadow continues to elongate. Let's say, what measurement would you say the shadow is right now? Yeah, I can say any number you guys like. How tall is the shadow right now at the start of Dhuhr? Let's say 1 out of 20. Okay, let's say 1 meter. Yeah? It's 1, or if most people are American here, we can just say 1 foot. Okay? The shadow is 1 foot. It doesn't necessarily rotate, but it just grows. Yeah, just shrinks and grows, right? But there is also a transformation in the sense that, it is kind of moving, and it depends, the angle and everything depends on where you are in the earth and the season and everything like that. Okay. But yeah, if you just sit outside for a day, even if you work as a programmer in the most coding job where you have no necessity to go outside, just go sit outside and work outside for a day. You'll see the shadow. And that itself can be an ibadah. All right. So now the shadow, it's 1 foot at Dhuhr time, but now it continues to extend. Okay? Continues to extend. And it extends a little more. It extends a little more. Until, as you can see, not the most artistic, but until perhaps it is this long. Now this long, let's say the object was, 2 feet, okay, or 3 feet. 3 feet. Now the shadow is 3 feet plus 1 feet. It is 4 feet. Okay? When the shadow is 4 feet, why? Because it is the length of the shadow at, it is the length of the shadow at the Dhuhr time, when the Dhuhr time entered, which was 1 foot, plus the length of the object, which is 3 feet. In total, we have what? 1 plus 3 is? 4. Excellent. That's not a fiqh question. That's a kindergarten question. Okay. Matthew says here in Washington State, we don't see shadows for much of the year. I haven't been to Washington, but yeah, I can imagine. But still, in the summers, I've heard it's quite sunny and nice. So at least in the summer, you should be able to observe shadow. Right? And the summertime, the days should be long, right? The days are longer than they are in other parts of America. You should be able to observe the shadow, at least in the summer. I can understand the winter can be hard. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Yeah, just very few days. So somebody who is actually calculating, they would have to interpolate the days, where, you basically interpolate the days, depending on the period of time, you interpolate the days where you do have sun, with the days that you don't. Okay? Ala kulli hal. So we'll keep going. Now the sun keeps moving. When the shadow is at this length, which is the length of the object plus the length of the original shadow, the Dhuhr time shadow, which is 1 plus 3 equals 4. That's the entrance of Asr time. and the end of dhuhr ikhtiyari time. And the end of dhuhr ikhtiyari time. Okay? Now what is this object? I don't know. Maybe it's a cricket wick, huh? For people who know cricket. Yeah, I don't know what that object is, but as the shadow keeps going, sun keeps going, okay? Now the shadow keeps extending. I know, science, right? Shadow keeps extending. Bismillah. And now it has reached basically two lengths, okay? And this is the end of Asr ikhtiyari time. Why is it? Or, yeah. Say it like this, all right? Yeah, in any case, can't be too precise. Now, this length, it was 4 feet, right? And this length right here is, let's say, has to be 1 plus 2 times 3, which is what? 7. Excellent. When this is 7 feet, prayer time has ended. Okay? On another opinion, it is when oops, what's going on there? There's 2 suns now. Okay. All right, here we go. On another opinion, it is when it's about 20 to 30 minutes before Maghrib time, when the things are very yellow, like the world itself becomes very yellow because of the setting of the sun. All right, that's the end of the Asr ikhtiyari time. All we're talking about now is ikhtiyari time. Now, when the sun is fully below the horizon, like this, fully below, not half below, because when you look at the clocks, right, when you look at the sunset clocks, they will tell you when the sunset time, the nautical sunset time, the astronomical sunset is actually when the sun is at half horizon, okay? But for Muslims, the sunset time, actual Maghrib, is when it's fully below the horizon, okay? That is the start of Maghrib time. And the end of Ikhtiyari Maghrib is about 20 minutes, okay? The time it takes to do ghusl normally, which is about 15 to 25 minutes max, okay? To do ghusl, get ready, and pray. 25 minutes max, one must have prayed the prayer, okay? Finally, the Isha time, for this, you simply calculate 1/3 of the night. So if Maghrib is, for example, let's just put this, Isha Ikhtiyari, okay? So if Maghrib starts, the sunset is at 8 p.m. and the Fajr, or the dawn, not the Fajr, the dawn, sunrise, or sorry, the Fajr time, yes, the Fajr time, not the sunrise, but the dawn, okay? It starts at 4 a.m., or let's say 5 a.m. Yeah? How many hours are there at night in this scenario? 9. 9 hours. So 1/3 of the night would be divided 9 by 3, which is 3, plus 8, which is 11. You see how learning fiqh makes you good at math? Okay. have to be quick at math. So 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 9 hours, divided by 3 hours, plus 8 p.m., 11 p.m. That is when Isha Ikhtiyari ends. Okay? As for the Baruri time, and then we'll end for today. The Baruri time. Oh, Subh. Forgot Subh. The Subh time is basically until sunrise. Okay, there's two opinions, but the opinion that we will give here, and perhaps a stronger opinion, they're both strong, mashhur opinions, is until sunrise. So from dawn, which is the first light, okay? When it's rising, when the sun is rising, let me just duplicate this page. Duplicate this page. Okay, so let me just take this. Duplicate. When the sun is rising, what you'll see is that there are lights that come from the horizon before the sun has even risen. And the first light that comes, that is the Fajr time, okay? So there'll be lights that come over here on the horizon, okay? And the first light that comes, when you look out into the horizon, you see the first lights, that will be the start of Fajr time. And the end of Fajr time is when the sun, first part of the sun comes up, okay? That's the end of Fajr time. As soon as this first part comes up, end of Fajr time. And there's another opinion that the Fajr time ends when you can see the faces of people clearly, which is about, 30 minutes after Fajr time starts. You could say 20 to 30 minutes after Fajr time starts, okay, in most normal latitudes. This is the ikhtiyari time. Any questions so far? An ikhtiyari time. What is the dominant opinion followed by mosques? Because I give two opinions here. I said both of them are strong. Hopefully they're not praying after sunrise. Those are two opinions, yeah. The ikhtiyari time extends until sunrise or when the faces are visible, yes. Two strong, equally strong opinions. And I'll tell you all a story, actually, about difference of opinion. I think there's a lesson here. And that is in Marat, where I studied for a little bit, Sheikh Haddamin, Sheikh Murabat al-Hajj, rahimahullah, he held the opinion that the Fajr time is until faces are visible. So he would pray at that time, which is about 20, 30 minutes once Fajr starts. But Sheikh Haddamin, he held the opinion that the prayer time extends until the sunrise. And so, I kid you not, he would pray when I was there, rahimahullah, and may Allah join us with him. He would pray, literally as the prayer ended, you could see the sun rising. You would think that no one should pray at this time, but he would pray at that time, not because he was lazy and he got up late. He had gotten up for tahajjud, but to make it easy for people. So, first of all, neither scholar berated the other, scolded the other, said you're causing fitna in the community, you're causing problems in the community. And keep in mind, Murabat al-Hajj was Sheikh Haddamin's teacher, his own student, disagreed with his opinion, and they held two jama'ahs in the same masjid. Almost unthinkable, right, for something like that to happen in any masjid in the West, despite us perhaps claiming to be more open, more freedom. No, like the things that matter, we we don't have openness and freedom on. The things where there's legitimate difference of opinion, unfortunately, there's no openness and freedom on. But inshallah, we hope khair for the ummah, and I think as you guys learn, as we learn, and we go to our communities and increase the number of people who learn, inshallah, there'll be more understanding of difference of opinion. They're both strong, mashhur opinions of the madhab. You see, Umar, that's what I'm trying to show, is that even within one madhab, you can have such a difference of opinion that there's two mashhurs, right? Even within one madhab. Says Muhabba says, I have heard that one shouldn't pray in the 10 minutes before sunrise. Can you comment on that, please? 10 minutes before sunrise? No, there's no opinion like that. Unless they were saying, unless perhaps on the opinion that Fajr ends when you can see the faces, when you can discern the faces, then the rest of the prayer time until sunrise becomes daruri. Okay? So one shouldn't delay the prayer until then. So let's very quickly talk about ikhtiyari and daruri, right? So we can stop there for today. Ikhtiyari means voluntary. It means you have a choice, right? Ikhtiyar, it comes from ikhtiyar, optionality. You have optionality. What is that optionality? What is that optionality? That optionality is you have the option to pray anytime within that ikhtiyari time. Okay? Daruri means that if you came upon that daruri time, then you must pray in that time as soon as possible. Daruri means necessity, a time of necessity, meaning it's necessary to pray right away. Okay? You don't have a choice in that time. All right? So there are daruri times. For Dhuhr, if we had to make some kind of diagram like this, right? If this is the path, oops. If this is the path of the sun, right? Let's just do this, okay? And the daruri time for Dhuhr, it extends until it actually extends until Isfirar. It extends until Isfirar. Or rather, it extends until Maghrib. Okay? And the same as the daruri for Asr. What does this mean? It means that if you had some excuse, for example, if you had some excuse, like a woman was on her menstrual cycle, like somebody was traveling, somebody forgot, somebody was sleeping, and then you got up, you must pray right away. But in actuality, you prayed within the time, and there's no sin, right? So, sorry, I will write in English. Dhuhr and Asr and Daruri. Okay? The Maghrib Daruri time and the Isha Daruri time, they actually overlap all the way until dawn. Okay? So, Maghrib and Isha and Daruri. all the way until Fajr, until Subh, right? Okay. That means, once again, if you're traveling, if you fell asleep, let's say you fell asleep, for some reason just crashed, you came home, crashed, you woke up, it was 3 a.m. Fajr comes in 1 hour, pray Maghrib and Isha right away, and you have actually prayed within time. Also, for people in high longitudes, if the prayer time doesn't actually come in, there's some places in the world that the prayer time doesn't even come in until a third of the night has passed, the Isha time, right? But you have entered the Daruri time in any case, and you can pray within that Daruri time. And it is better to pray right away. Though in this case, Imam Dasuqi also mentions that you can take the weaker opinion in the madhab, that the Isha time extends all the way until Fajr time, until Subh. Okay? And finally, if you took the opinion that Subh ends, somewhere over here, when the sun is positioned somewhere over here, that is, Subh ends, grab that whole thing, okay? If Subh ends, before the actual sunrise, if you took that position, then the Daruri time would end at sunrise. Okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and mark all the important points in the day. And then my wife also actually made an excellent diagram that I believe I've sent to those who took the class before. So if anyone can send that diagram again, it'll be very helpful for the students, inshallah. Okay, these are perhaps the important points. All right. This is Dhuhr, start. This is Dhuhr, ikhtiyari, end. And also the Asr start. And this is Asr, ikhtiyari, end. Okay. All right. Any questions for today, inshallah? We'll call it Subh, because that's the more. Any questions? If someone yes, Sidi Badr, yeah, it would be helpful if you can share that in the Telegram group, yeah, to the WhatsApp, inshallah. If someone intentionally doesn't pray in ikhtiyari and prays in daruri without an excuse, will the salah be valid? Yes, the salah will be valid, but he is sinful. It is haram to delay into the daruri without excuse. Okay? Any other questions? I'll send this as well. I don't know if it's helpful. Do you all want this? Especially the people who have the other diagram. I think the other diagram is much better. My wife spent a lot of time with that one. But in any case, we'll send this. If anyone finds this one helpful. Okay. All right. Any last questions? Screen share. They also have a good picture in being Muslim. Excellent, mashallah. Yes. SubhanAllah, I didn't know that. I should look into that. Someone intentionally doesn't pray in ikhtiyari and prays in daruri without excuses. Yeah. Then, if there are no questions, Ahmed, Abu Umar, Carlos, Yasmin, Ikram, Badr, Fahim, Kabir, Jessica, Matthew, Abba, Sabir, you've been quiet today. Umar, Zainab. إذن نسأل الله أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وينفعنا بما علمنا إنه على ما يشاء قدير وبالإجابة كثير ونعم المولى ونعم النصير وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. All right, see you all next week.